Okay, so this is the finished sort of controller for my servo air vent thing. Um, I took little clips here and there while I was making it, and then it just turned out that that was like 35 minutes of video. And I can't be bothered to sort through that and trim it down. That's gonna take fucking ages, especially when it's little clips that I randomly took throughout the process. And B, no one's gonna watch it like a 20-minute video on that shit. So, basically, hopefully, a quicker video. This is the finished controller, not screwed together, obviously. So it basically just started out. I do wish I had found something a little bigger. It made it easier to work on. Just a little electrical junction box thing, no holes or anything in it originally. Um, it worked out pretty good. I'm usually really shit at making enclosures, as you can tell by how straight that is. But yeah, so basically it's got the 16:2 character LCD. It's got the external, internal, and servo ports. 120 volt input, and then we have our two switched outlets and a serial port on the side, which I was considering having this hook up to my server just with a straight serial cable. Unfortunately, that won't work because of basically computers use voltage level switching, which won't really connect to the Arduino properly. So that's just a programming port directly wired up just so I can leave it closed. So as far as the temperature sensors, I was originally going to use Dallas Instruments DS1820B digital temperature sensors in parasitic mode. That way they only use 2 wires. They're really cool. They're more accurate. A little slower to react to temperature changes. However, compared to the project I made that uses one just to data log onto an SD card or read it out, trying to use 2 of them, I spent like a day and a half not realizing there was a specific Dallas Instruments Arduino library. I was just doing the 1-wire library. And anyways, getting the readings to pop out was a pain in the ass. It added a whole lot of extra stuff, basically, whenever I wanted to read info from the sensor. I couldn't get the raw output to display on the screen, so I'd have to make a float or something, and then put the temperature, basically that equals that, and then be able to reference it to print out on the screen. So I just went with some 10K thermistors that I had, and so they're just mono 3.5 mil jacks, and then the thermistor, fucking hell, just the thermistor on the end there, and they're a little bit faster. They're not as accurate, but I mean, it's going to be good enough. This isn't any sort of scientific equipment or anything. And so, yeah, you can just plug them in. Doesn't matter which goes. And then the servo wire. I found that, interestingly, grounding was an issue with this. Also using 3.5 mil jacks for that. I needed to run a ground wire between that and that for it to actually work well. Because just regular audio 3.5 mil cable didn't work very well. So I picked up some 4-conductor stuff. I can't remember what gauge it is, but it's quite thick. And basically 2 wires for ground, 1 for power, 1 for signal, and it works great. A little finicky trying to get the big cable in there, but then that just plugs in like so. So then you have your 3 outgoing connections. Then you just plug it in. Plan for now is just to switch on and off the fan, but I might also make it so I can turn off the 600 cubic feet per minute exhaust fan on the top of the server rack that I have as well, just so it can be completely quiet when it's cold enough. So if we go ahead and open this up, it's not great, but if I had a little more forethought or planning, like this serial port was the last thing I added, I would have done all of the connections on just one larger stretch of ribbon cable actually I'm not even sure if I had enough. I've been using this for like a couple of years now for projects. Yeah, it's, I need to get a whole roll of this ribbon cable, because I just really like it like that, and then using like resistor legs for solid like jumpers like the ground port. I don't know, I just like that kind of style when I'm building stuff, probably because I've taken apart a lot of old stuff. But yeah, so we have we have our little I2C LCD adapter, which I had to jump down quite a bit using like 2 sets of jumpers to clear this switch or this connection, because I could have put them lower down. I didn't think properly. I forgot about the LCD when I was doing that. I did the LCD after I did all these other things in here. So I just had to move it down and squish that out of the way. That I can probably switch to the other side of the board, actually. And then I also had to use a rotary tool and sand that down, but it works pretty good. So basically the connections for the LCD are right there. Then you have your programming header connections going to that serial port there, and everything else popping over to the 3 connections. I've got a cell phone power supply hot snotted in there. It does kind of dip a little bit. I did put 100 milliseconds is just enough. I put it up to 200. If you try to actuate the servo and also actuate one of these relays, this power supply is only rated for 500 milliamps or so. It browns out and resets it without a 100 millisecond delay. I put it to 200 and it seems pretty good. The screen does dim a little bit when it's actuating the servo motor, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, so then I have the 2 relays for the switched outputs. If I had gone with some thinner wire, that would have been easier to do as well. And the wiring in there is kind of a mess. But yeah, it's pretty good. I forgot to put a fuse in, and then, well, there might still be room somewhere on the right side or something. It's just going to be a pain in the ass to rewire. Right now I'm just going to focus on getting the sort of algorithm. It's probably giving myself too much credit. The if and or else statements that are basically going to try and keep the room at about 16 degrees, basically. If the external temperature is the same or higher, it shuts off the servo vent completely and the fan. If it's, a few degrees cooler, it only opens it up a little bit. If it's, like 7 degrees cooler, it'll open it up halfway and turn the fan on. That sort of thing. So I just need to tweak with it and experiment. And like different temperatures outside are probably going to affect it as well. But I'm hoping to basically get it so I can just leave it on all the time. And if the temperature is the same or within a couple degrees, it'll just stay shut, keep this closed all the way. That way there isn't too much air coming in. Or, tweak it with having it open a little bit like that so that it will, allow just it to passively let some warm air in. Or cool air. So yeah, it's basically going to be a lot of troubleshooting. Well, not troubleshooting, experimenting to find the right balance of airflow to try and keep it at 16 degrees, especially when it gets down to like minus 30, minus 35. Yeah, in winter it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. But yeah, so I'll put my phone on something and just fire this up for a little demo. I'll have to stick it to something so you can actually see it. Okay, so I don't have anything that I want to basically screw this into for like 5 minutes and damage it. Like the thing I'm screwing into, not this. So basically just leaving as is. Also, normally it would be screwed closed. But I forgot to do that. So anyways, yeah, a little awkward to set up, but you'll be able to hear the fan come on, and you'll be able to see the servo vent actuate. So we'll go ahead and plug in the other side here. And also I should note, actually I'm not sure. The exhaust vent will be fused, and I could just put a fuse on the other side of this thing, so if it blows, it'll just be the output that blows. I'll take out the whole thing. Not that that really matters. Yeah, fuse is a thing for later. Okay, so it initializes big 1 to 0. These were all just very quick things that I put in just to get the order of operations right in my head. So like this 25 degrees, that's basically closed. That's useless. So I just have the external or internal sensor in one hand, external in the other. I'll probably actually have to put one in my mouth to warm it up, but if I go ahead and just warm it up a little bit, you'll see that it'll open the servo a little bit more. Actually, wait, will it? I don't think so. can't quite recall how I programmed it. So I'm just gonna hold my tongue against the end, and you'll see once it gets, I think it's like 7 or 8 degrees warmer than the external temperature, it'll open the servo up. Oh, there we go, a lot more, and then turn on the fan, as you can hear there. And I'll just let go of the external or internal sensor, put my thumb on this sensor, and so first it'll cut the fan and close a little bit. Again, these need to be tweaked quite a lot. It's a lot of experimentation, which is why I added the port on the outside. And then once the outside gets warmer than the inside, or about the same temperature, it turns the servo off completely. So basically, throughout the day, as it sort of fluctuates like that, I can have it, allow a little bit of cool air in or something if it's raining and it cools off a little bit. And then, once nighttime comes, and if the server room is a little more warm, then just make sure I don't put the one that I put thermal compound down in my mouth. Okay, this one's taking a lot longer to go down. Well, whatever, you got the idea. So basically, it will regulate the servo and the vent, the servo and the fan, to try and balance the temperature and keep it at a target temperature. I don't have it set up so I can just say, hey, put it in target temperature, so if I want it at 15 degrees C, it'll automatically take care of switching things back and forth based on the external and internal temperatures. That'd be really slick. I'd have to set up a way saying, like, if it's X amount higher than target temperature. It might not be too hard to do that, actually. Yeah, I don't know. So we'll go ahead and turn the fan on one last time. But yeah, so lots of experimentation to do. Oh, no, my tongue isn't warm enough. Come on. Hey, there we go. And then that would run until it's cool enough. Let's let go of both of these now. And there you go. I haven't figured out the little jittering. That's, yeah, I don't know. It's just doing that. I don't think it really causes a whole lot of issue. It still returns to the same positions and stuff fine, so yeah. There we have the control box set up with its 3 connections on the side for the sensors and the servo. And then your 120 volts input, and then your 2 switch outlets, which all feed off of this. So if I was going to put a fuse there, I'd put it like a 10 amp or something. So yeah. Next thing I post will hopefully be an update on this installed.